Hello, this is a short demonstration on how to use No Kid Hungry's Community Eligibility Provision, or CEP calculator, a tool that can help you to maximize CEP in your district and make the financial case for CEP to district leaders. The CEP calculator is a Microsoft Excel file that is designed to work on a PC computer. It is available to download here at this web address. And now I'm going to switch over to show you the calculator. So when you first download and open the file, it will ask you to allow the file to run a macro. Say yes. You may see a pop-up, or you may see a yellow ribbon near the top of the spreadsheet file that first requires you to click a button to enable the spreadsheet's content, and then to click a button to enable macros. Don't worry, you won't need to do any coding or do anything with the macros. You just need to allow the file to run a macro in order for it to work properly. So as you'll see here, there are several tabs within this spreadsheet. The gray tabs are background or information, so please don't try to edit any information in these tabs. The yellow tabs are where you'll enter data or information or take an action, and the blue tabs are where you'll see results. So starting here on the instructions tab, we have a step-by-step guide for how to use the calculator. Step 1 is to gather your data, and we'll go through that briefly with the data needed and definitions tab. Your second step is to enter district level data in the Enter Data District tab. The third step is to enter school level data in the Enter Data Schools tab. And step 4 is to do the grouping analysis using meals count in this tab 4. And it's really easy. You'll just need to click a button when we get there. And then step 5 is to look at your results. Tab 5A is district level results. Tab 5B is school level results. And then we have an optional step 6 to do an advanced analysis where you can manipulate the participation rates, or ADP, by school. One of the benefits of using the CEP calculator is that you can play around with your numbers and run multiple scenarios so that you can get the best possible financial picture for your planning purposes. So coming to the data needed and definitions tab, this runs through all of the data points you'll need to gather in order to successfully complete the calculator. I won't talk through each one, but this is a great reference that fully explains what we mean by each data point. So coming to the Enter Data District tab, the first thing you'll do is type the name of your school district. And then the next 3 fields are drop-down menus. So the first question, does your district serve more than 60% free or reduced price lunches? We have over and under 60%. And this is about whether or not your district qualifies for the higher lunch reimbursement based on whether or not you served 60% or more lunches at the free or reduced price rate in the second preceding year. The next question is whether or not you're certified for the additional 7 cents reimbursement based on your menus, yes or no in this dropdown. And the third dropdown is which state are you in? This is important because Alaska, Hawaii, and the US territories have higher reimbursement rates, and also some states offer supplemental reimbursements, and that's all taken into account with this calculator. Next, we have the meal pricing. So we have the reduced price copay. That's the same across all grade levels, so you'll just enter it once for breakfast and lunch. However, if the reduced price copay is waived in your district, you'll enter 0 here. Next, we have the pricing for full price meals across each grade level, elementary, K-8, middle, high school, or K-12. If your district does not have any schools in one of these grade levels, you can just enter 0. So here in this example, there are no schools that are K-8 or K-12. Now we can go to our Enter Data Schools tab. If we come all the way over, you'll first enter the name of every school in your district. You can either copy and paste that or type it in. The next column is for grade level, and this is a drop-down menu, elementary, K-8, middle, high school, or K-12. That corresponds to the pricing table in the District Data tab. The next set of columns are the number of students eligible for free meals, the number of students eligible for reduced price meals, and the number of students eligible for paid meals. These are whole numbers. These are not percentages. Similarly, the number of identified students is a whole number, not a percentage. So this is the number of students who are directly certified for free meals because of participation in programs like SNAP, or who are directly certified because they're identified as experiencing homelessness, for an example. And this is all spelled out on the Data Needed and Definitions tab. The next set of columns is the average daily participation, ADP, or number of free breakfasts per day, as well as reduced price breakfast and paid breakfast. And then the next set is that ADP for free lunches, reduced price lunches, and paid lunches. Again, these are whole numbers and daily or per day numbers, not the number of meals per month or per year. We would love for you to have an annual ADP if possible, because we know that participation can fluctuate over the course of the year, but you could also choose an ADP from a month that feels representative of usual operations for you. That said, we know that school year 1920 and school year 2021 were not usual, so it may be difficult to identify a good month. But again, you can play around with your numbers, you can run different scenarios to get the best possible picture for your planning. In column M, you have annual unpaid meal charges or unpaid meal debt. This is, again, a whole number, and you should enter it as a positive number, even though it's debt or unpaid meal charges. Enter a whole positive number per school year. And then column N is non-severe need or severe need breakfast. You'll get this from your claims to verify, but this is based on whether or not your district, or based on whether or not the school served 40% or more lunches at the free or reduced price rate in the second preceding year. So again, it's a drop-down menu. You'll select severe or non-severe based on your eligibility for that rate. And here you don't need to enter any information. There are formulas in the spreadsheet that will calculate these automatically, but the spreadsheet will calculate your total enrollment by adding up the number of free, reduced price, and paid eligible students. It's a good gut check to know you entered your data correctly. And it will also calculate your identified student percentage by taking the number of identified students and dividing it by your total enrollment. Now we're ready to move on to our grouping analysis. So this will auto-populate with the schools you entered in the school level data tab. So now the only thing for us to do is to click this button, and we'll get a pop-up here to send our data to meals count. So click OK. As it says in the pop-up, it can take several minutes, even for smaller districts. If you have a very large district of 50 or 100 or more schools, it may take a long time. You can get in touch with us at bestpractices@strength.org. We may be able to put you in touch with the developer of Meals Count for some alternatives to working with larger data sets. This district is not so large, so we'll just wait for it to run the analysis. While we wait, I'll note that you can modify over here whether or not you include a school within the grouping analysis. For your first attempt, we encourage you to include all schools. You may be surprised. Meals Count is a really powerful algorithm that may surprise you with how it can make CEP financially viable. But if you run this scenario with all the schools included and you decide that you want to pull a school out, perhaps a school with a lower ISP, you can come back and you can select remove from the analysis. It's another drop-down menu. But again, for now, we're running this grouping analysis with all of the schools. Again, the CEP calculator is set up to communicate directly with the Meals Count website, but that is a separate tool that you can access separately if you are just interested in the grouping analysis. Great, so our grouping analysis is complete. Before we go to the results, I just want to note here that you'll see these grouping numbers, and these are indicative of the number of groups that Meals Count recommends. So here we have at least 6 different groups that Meals Count is recommending, and it will auto-calculate the ISP for each group, and it will confirm that the grouping is eligible for CEP, and it will apply the 1.6 multiplier. So now let's go to those results. So again, this is our district level results first. And the first row is just a comparison. It is your current program revenue under standard counting and claiming through the National School Lunch Program and School Breakfast Program. Currently, this revenue is based on school year 21-22 reimbursement rates. And again, this is based on your current participation with current reimbursement rates. So scenario 1 for comparison is your expected revenue if you were to adopt CEP at all the schools you included in your grouping analysis, with an expected participation rate of 47% for breakfast and 73% for lunch. And we have an explanation here for why we think those participation rates are a reasonable expectation. Scenario 2 is your expected revenue with CEP if you were to implement breakfast in the classroom with an expected participation rate of 65%. And again, we have here an explanation of why we think that participation rate is something to be expected. And I just want to emphasize that one of the great things about CEP is that it really does facilitate the implementation of alternative service models like breakfast in the classroom, because you no longer have to count and claim by individual student fee category, and you're able to serve meals at no charge to all students and really expedite that counting and claiming process. Now, scenario 3, just for comparison, is your expected revenue under CEP if you had no change in participation. We do not think that is likely, but we know it's important to have all of these numbers ready when making the case to school business officials and to district officials. So that is your overall financial picture as a district, but you can also go to these school level results. And again, you see current program revenue by school at your current participation rates, and then your revenue scenarios 1, 2, and 3. So this is great because you can see what may be happening at specific schools. Here, for example, at Davis Elementary, we see that it's the only school to be losing money under scenario 1, perhaps because they already have pretty high participation rates, so you're not really seeing much of a difference in implementing CEP. Now, we can also go to the Advanced Analysis tab, where again, you can manipulate the participation rate by school, so that you as a school nutrition director or school nutrition staff at these schools who know these schools really well can really make the best possible estimates. Currently, this is set up, you can see in this formula here, to play around with a scenario of what if we increase participation by 15% at all of these schools for breakfast and lunch. But you can just type in any other number to see what happens. So for example, if we have Angelou High School in this example, and what if you say, you know, it's losing money right now under this scenario, but what if I could get this participation up to 32% for lunch? Look, you see what happens, and that number goes up, and it's now in the black. So this is a really powerful tool. Again, it allows you to run multiple scenarios and to manipulate your numbers so that you can really see what the impact is and make the best possible plans. So that is it on how to use the calculator. We do also have an FAQ available for download on the same page as the calculator that covers some of this information and possibly answers outstanding questions you may have. You can also email us at bestpractices@strength.org if you have additional questions or need assistance using the calculator. Thanks for listening, and we hope you find this to be a useful tool for reaching as many students as possible with free school meals through CEP.